also look at someone like the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, who are below 500, who nobody believes in. They are not Super Bowl contenders. And at some point, Jerry Jones will have to face reality and get rid of a couple of these players to keep paying other guys. It's not working there. They should be a seller.
So Brian's saying Micah Parsons is on the trade block.
Right, yeah. But here's the thing, look,
you have to think about it.
I keep going on about optics. The New York Jets are very bad at it, but the Dallas Cowboys are obsessed with it, you know. And I just can't see how they would do that knowing. Jerry Jones is very aware, knowing what it would be.
A smart GM would. You know, somebody who's actually ahead of the curve, who recognizes where my franchise is at. That's what I'm saying what I would do, what they should be doing. Dallas Cowboys should be sellers at the trade deadline. They're not going anywhere.
But you've been inside organizations, Phoebe. I mean, these conversations must be being had, but I don't know. I just don't see the Cowboys being part of that.
Yeah, I don't see them being part of it either because of Jerry Jones. You can't look at any other organization the same as you look at the Cowboys. You know, only last week we're seeing Cowboys ex-players coming forward and talking about how actually the brand supersedes winning. And if you get rid of a Micah Parsons, who else do you have, right? And so they need those names. They need those people to keep those attractions going. So it's a very odd thing because you can't actually look at the Cowboys like any other team in the NFL. But there are teams that do have a lot of needs out there, and you know, you hope someone like the Bills, you bring in Amari Cooper. They still need an inside linebacker. You've got the Bucks who are missing receivers. Everyone's going down. Same with the 49ers. There's a lot of teams with a lot of needs, and you know, there's not much time to make these decisions. But you look at throughout the year, every NFL team, they have scouts, college, NFL, every single team. They're going to every NFL game that they're assigned to. So there's eyes and ears everywhere.
It's a really interesting dichotomy between those two organizations, actually, in the Cowboys and the Raiders, in that, you know, they're two of the absolute keystone franchise of the NFL, you know, most valuable, biggest sellers. But whilst I'm kind of with Brian, if I'm the Cowboys, they're so desperate to start winning that they should be making every move they can to try and reset that organization.
Trayvon Diggs, Mike McCarthy, what went down?
For me, on some level, this is worse and just more misguided than the Anthony Richardson situation. You are once again one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL. You're the Dallas Cowboys. You're not winning on the field. You have this gazillion-dollar roster. All these things that we talk about every week on this show and write about at talkSPORT.com. You have a very good defensive, you know, a very good defender. Trayvon Diggs is right after another Cowboys loss. He's walking into the locker room, and instead of being honest about it, instead of owning up to it, instead of doing something professional, speaking of being unprofessional, he goes after a reporter who's just standing near the locker room and basically says, you know, you didn't play. You can't talk, you know, on and on and on. Don't take shots at me. Then he went on of course he went on Micah Parsons' podcast, because that's all the Cowboys
Everyone's
do.
got a podcast.
Is go on Micah Parsons' podcast and defended it. And so 24 hours later, you have Mike McCarthy had to apologize for it. You had Mike Zimmer had to apologize for it. And all I know is that, to me, is so symbolic of the state of the Dallas Cowboys. He's basically responding to an in-game tweet. Like, why are you even checking your Twitter account during the game? Focus more on actually winning on the field, being a better player. And it just shows, once again, that a lot of it is it's the symbols of it. It's the optics of it, which you mentioned earlier. The Dallas Cowboys are losers. That is a loser operation. That is a loser mentality, to where you're more focused on what somebody tweets about you than actually doing the best thing on the field and winning a game.
Optics should be the name of this show, because actually take out what Trayvon Diggs did this weekend and just focus on his play on the field. This guy led the NFL in interceptions last season and in pick sixes, right? But also, he had one of the worst ratings in coverage in the NFL. That's because he is a person who embodies the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. He cares about big splashy plays. He is a guy who will jump every single route in the hope that he makes that one big highlight play, but will sacrifice what the team actually
burned a lot.
Needs.
He gets burned a lot.
I honestly, I wouldn't want him starting for my franchise, because I think that he's not actually a very good coverage corner. But he's going to get you 5 interceptions in a season, and people see that flashy number and they get excited. They were talking about him being Defensive Player of the Year last year, and I was like, actually watch the All-22 film of this guy. He's not very good. And when you take that, and as Brian said, and then on top of it, you have media reaction to them being bad on top of it, it just compounds not very good play on the field. And it's amazing that in a week when we've talked about how shambolic the Jets are, when, the Browns managed to dig themselves out of some bizarre hole with Jameis Winston of all people, that actually the biggest shambles is the Dallas Cowboys right now, who, with a bit of garbage time, made themselves look a bit better against the 49ers. But it's the 49ers team who right now are not playing very well. For 3 quarters, got absolutely dominated.